In this lecture, we will look at a driver's permit exam. We'll go through a few questions with you, helping to reinforce some of the vocabulary that you have been learning.
My purpose of doing this permit practice test with you is not to give you all the correct answers and to teach you the do's and don'ts about driving a car in America. The purpose of this lecture is to make sure you understand the vocabulary in questions that are normally asked. So let's read the first question here. When are you allowed to use a wireless phone for text messaging? When you're driving, is there a situation when you're allowed to text? A, when passing a hospital. When you're driving past a hospital, are you allowed to text? B, when passing the scene of an accident. If there's been a car accident and you're driving by, can you text someone about it? C, when parked on the shoulder of a roadway. You should remember the shoulder is the side of the road. If you are parked there, the car is stopped, can you text someone? D, when driving in a highway speed zone. So the highway is one of those larger straightaway roads connecting towns and cities, and there's a speed zone, which is just an area that you need to slow down in. Are you allowed to text there? I'm going to choose C because this is a situation where you are not actually driving. Next question. The road surface of a bridge may be dangerous in winter because it may remain icy after the rest of the roadway is clear. And you're picking, is this true or is this false? Is this a correct statement or incorrect? So it's saying the surface, the top layer of a bridge, when you cross over the bridge, it can be dangerous in winter because it may stay icy longer after the other roads are no longer icy. This is true because the ice stays longer on a bridge than it does on a road. When a traffic signal, this is your traffic signal, when it is showing a flashing yellow light, you must A, slow down and be especially alert. Alert is paying attention. You are seeing everything that's around you. B, stop and proceed when you can do so safely. So if you see yellow flashing, do you stop and then go when you see it safe? C, stop and remain stopped until a green signal appears. D, proceed as normal. Crossing traffic must always stop. So you just keep driving as you always normally do and don't worry about it. The answer would be A, slow down and be especially alert. Although most people actually do this. They don't actually pay attention to a flashing yellow light. They just go on as normal. This is what they want you to do. You are approaching a stopped emergency vehicle on a multi-lane roadway. These are emergency vehicles, ambulances, police officers, fire trucks. They are all vehicles that go attend to an emergency on a multi-lane roadway. So there's more than one lane. The vehicle has its emergency lights activated. They are on. What should you do? A, try to vacate. We talked about this verb before. To vacate is to leave. Try to vacate the lane closest to the emergency vehicle. So wherever the ambulance or the fire truck is at, you try to leave that area. B, keep your speed and avoid stopping. So you just try not to stop so that they don't have to stop. C, turn on your headlights. Of course, the answer is A. You want to pull over to the shoulder away from the emergency vehicle. If you are convicted of neglect to report a traffic crash, your driving privilege will, and we have options here. So make sure you understand this. If you are convicted of neglect to report a traffic crash, that means you got in an accident on the road in your car, but you didn't stop. You didn't call the police. You didn't call your insurance agent, but you just kept driving. And they catch you. They find that you neglected to call. You neglected to report. You didn't do it. And they prove that you didn't do it. You are convicted. Your driving privilege, because driving is just a privilege they give you. It's not a right to be able to do it. It will, A, be suspended. For a time, you will not be allowed to drive. B, it will be revoked. Means that you will not be allowed to drive again. It'll be taken away. C, it will not be affected. Nothing will happen to you. D, it will be canceled. Canceled is similar to revoked. Just means that any paperwork that was there is done with. It's over. They take it away. The answer here would be A. It is suspended. There is a period of time where you will not be allowed to drive. Signals and directions from a flag person in a construction zone. Remember we talked before about a flagger, or here they call him a flag person. So the flagger has his stop sign in the construction zone. When you see the signal and the directions, you can safely ignore them or not pay attention to them. Must always be obeyed. Do you always need to listen to the flagger's signal, here being stop? C, should be obeyed only where there are no signs or signals. Well, this doesn't actually make any sense, because if there are no signs or signals, you can't actually obey it because there's nothing there. D is only advisory, but proceed with caution. If it's only advisory, that comes from the verb to advise. That's just a suggestion. You don't have to do it, but proceed with caution. Be careful, but do what you want to do. The answer would be must always be obeyed. A pedestrian is crossing your lane at an intersection, but there is no marked crosswalk. So the pedestrian is the person who's walking. They are crossing your lane at an intersection, but there's no actually crosswalk painted on the road. but they are crossing at an intersection. Okay, they're not jaywalking. They're crossing at an intersection, but there's no white lines painted on the road. You should A, carefully drive around the pedestrian. So the pedestrian's going, but just drive around them. B, make the pedestrian aware that he is not using a marked crosswalk. So roll down your window and yell out and say, "Hey man, what are you doing? There's no white lines there. You're not supposed to cross there." C, stop and let the pedestrian cross, just as if there were lines painted on the road. D, continue driving since the pedestrian must give you the right of way. So the pedestrian needs to wait on you. You do what you want to do because you have the right of way. Now, of course, this one is wrong. If you remember what Jim said before, pedestrians always have the right of way. Now, I want to make sure that you know what this means, right of way, because we didn't stop and talk about it before. You have, by law, the right to go first if you have the right of way. So pedestrians have the right of way when crossing at an intersection before a car. Or when you see a yield sign, the other person has the right of way. You are yielding to them. So our answer here would be C. You need to stop and let the pedestrian cross.
You're ready to pass your permit exam now. And we are ready to move on from this series of lectures. Yet before we do that, do you remember the car we showed? What were these in the back called again? Brake lights. And we didn't tell you about this, but back here, this is a trunk. See, you can open it up and store things in it. How convenient. And right in the front here, if you remember, these were headlights. So those are just some of the car parts. And hopefully you remember, especially after taking that permit exam, some rules of the road. And you can also go, there's on many websites, and practice some of this by taking some of the permit exams online. They're not really going to give you a grade, so if you don't pass it, you're not going to fail or anything. Don't worry about that. Yet, it will help to reinforce some of this vocabulary. So take a look, and take a look at our quiz to see how you do.